Welcome back to another iRacing video, and today's video is going to be solely focused on Formula 3 at Brands Hatch. Now, when I saw this event come up, I was excited because, as you may know, Brands Hatch is my local circuit, and yeah, just a lot of good memories visiting this circuit and watching racing here. So once I saw this event come up, I was going to dedicate some more time to it. So I did a bit more practice, not before this first race you're seeing here, but nonetheless, fixed setups, Formula 3s at Brands Hatch, it was always going to be quite a lot of fun, even if overtaking would be difficult. But nonetheless, a not particularly great qualifying. I think it was about 8th or 9th on the grid. As we come through the first corner, we've already gained a couple of positions through people's slow starts, and up to the Druids hairpin, one of the most famous corners in motorsports. There's contact in front, one car goes off in the gravel, the green and white car comes back on the track and slows us both down, so the leaders are already getting away. They're already probably about 3 seconds up the road, but nonetheless, we're in a decent enough position on this first lap of the race. We've gained a couple of positions, which is good. Now we can see a car go down the inside there at Druids, dives it down the inside of the green and white car, which made contact on the first lap, and he must have damage or something, because obviously he qualified ahead of us here, and yes, he's struggling at this point. Now my qualifying was quite bad, if I remember correctly. I made mistakes on all of my laps, so I think I was probably one of the lower qualifiers of the people that actually did lap times. For some reason, a lot of people in these cars don't set lap times, they just sort of start at the back of the grid. Maybe it's part of the challenge for them, I don't know, but I certainly didn't do that because I knew I needed to get somewhere up the grid to get a decent result here. But a slipstream down into turn 1, Paddock Hill Bend, one of the trickiest corners in the world, and I get through there, down the inside and up another position. So I was quite happy with that one. Another position gained here early on in this race. I think my qualifying pace was quite far off what I knew I could do, so in the race I was always looking to go forward here, and I did expect a couple of guys behind to try and get past as well. And I think this possibly is a lapped car, because a nice person gets out the way, but then someone flies out the pit lane here, parks the car in the apex, and just costs me a whole bunch of time. Bit frustrating, that one there. I mean, when I come out the pit lane in practice, for example, I always look up in my mirrors, and I always look at the relative splits in the bottom right. And if there's a car coming, I'm not going to just park the car in the apex at turn 1. I'm going to do my best to get out the way. So that was quite frustrating. Battling for position here, I was trying to get into the top 5, and I think I was around 5th position at this time, so I really wanted to just stay here, and getting blocked like that into turn 1 was quite frustrating. But I guess swings and roundabouts, as the car I was chasing down, the white and red car you can see directly in front of me here, is catching up to the back of some slower traffic as well. Now, as expected in sort of the lower end Formula 3 category on iRacing, there was going to always be a bit of carnage. That's why there are people getting lapped. This is only a 10-minute race, and people are getting lapped this early on. So it's all about getting involved in accidents early on, pitting and then coming out. And this guy locks up, goes a bit wide, but then kind of cuts off the white and red car when going back to the racing line. And considering he isn't battling for position here, that's a little bit rude, because let's be perfectly honest, it's annoying to get taken out in accidents early on in the race, but you don't come back onto the track and start disrupting the leaders. I guess we're still classed as the leaders, races when they're battling for position, and he probably saw that in the relative splits I was right behind him as well, so I would hate to be in the position that this white and red car's in, because he's trying to get past the lapped car, and then they've got me charging up behind him as well. I definitely felt like I had the pace advantage over him, but it's just finding that in a track like Brands Hatch is tough. Now he makes a mistake here up into the hairpin, I think, as he was sort of following the lapped car in front of him here, and we go side by side down from Druid's hairpin, but I can't quite capitalise on that. I think I got a bit of wheel spin out of the corner because I rode over the curbs, which isn't really the ideal racing line, but that is what it is, and we're still right up behind him, filling his mirrors, and he's making mistakes because of it. Now, focus your eyes slightly ahead here, as there's a white car spinning around, the two lapped cars crash into each other, and the car in front of me is significantly halted by the spin in front, and I get the nice run down the inside. Even though I did have to touch the brakes, I got the move down the inside after having a bit of a better run through the corner. But he pulls the switch back on me here, and you can see it by my steering wheel movements here. I saw him come down the inside. I could have really gone for the apex, I think, if I'd been a bit more aggressive there, but I didn't want to cause a big accident, so we get away from that one. He gets a bit squirrely as he turns through the left-hander here, but nonetheless we're still right in his mirrors, and you can see in my mirrors we've got a green car right up behind me, so in a bit of a sandwich right now, trying to battle for this. I think at this point this is for 3rd position here, so we've had cars sort of spinning off all around us, cars going back to pit lane, and You can see well, you can't see the leaders are way off into the distance now as we're on board with myself as we're going to turn 1 here. I look to the inside, nice move, shifting down to 4th gear, which I wouldn't normally do, and up to Druid's hairpin. Position is done and gained up into 3rd position. I was quite happy with that one. It wasn't a particularly late move to the inside at Paddock Hill Bend, but he left me the room. I appreciate that. It could have been an accident if we just turned into the corner, but you know, I feel like we had a nice clean race with this guy. I mean, maybe he saw from the lap prior when into Druid's hairpin I didn't close the door on him and smash him off into the barriers, which some people do, especially in this fixed setup iRacing series. But nonetheless, it was a really good battle for 3rd place. I appreciate the guy being clean and fair with me throughout, really. It could have ended in contact, that's for sure, but thankfully it didn't, and it was a good race. First race in Formula 3's ever, so I think I put in a bit of practice beforehand, which meant that it wasn't sort of a complete step into the unknown, but nonetheless, a pretty decent race here. We come up to cross the line there and finish the race. So pretty happy with that one. 3rd place in our first Formula 3 race. Quite a distant way behind the leader, which is something to be worked on, but still, I'll take it. So race number 2, back at Brands Hatch. We're going to be watching this one from the replay camera. So we put this one on the front row of the grid, 2nd place here. So the orange car is on pole, and we're following that Porsche 911 round to the grid. So something to note is the orange car, I'd raced with him before actually, in a couple of different things and in practice session as well, and he was getting called out constantly for doing weird stuff. So he was obviously quick, but he was doing some dodgy stuff on the racetrack, which was a bit frustrating. So he guns it here and then just slams on the brakes. So I slam on the brakes as well, but people behind haven't got the note, and yeah, that happens. So that slowed us down. So he's gone for it at this point, then he sort of lifts off and then slightly touches the brakes, but everyone behind has seen him go for it and has gone full gas. So to go for it and then brake is just stupid. And at the end of the day, he can't really complain that someone's ploughed into the back of him here after doing something like that. And unfortunately for the rest of us, it's wiped out a whole bunch of people. And I mean, look at that. It's just so much carnage early on. It's a bit ridiculous, really. But nonetheless, someone else gets the jump and we're 2nd place down in the first corner. So many people were caught up in that. I think possibly 5 or 6 cars were the only ones left after that, without any sort of damage. Of course, we've got the main 3 of us out here, and then a little bit further back there's a couple more cars that sort of made through it. There's one of them you can see at the top of your screen that has got through this without any sort of damage, but of course he's been held up. But the car in the lead actually does have damage. You can see by his front wing he is significantly hampered aerodynamically, and round Brands Hatch you really need that aerodynamics to be going quick. So through the last couple of corners I pulled to the inside here, and he's just so slow through the corner because he hasn't got that grip, sticking him to the track. And there's a bit of contact is there further back there between the 2 cars. The blue car flies down the inside and gets the move done, so good stuff from him. Now just to mention what my fastest lap is around here, just if you're interested, it's a 41.601. Now the very, very, very fastest people I've seen are doing 40.9s, or maybe even 40.8s, but the fastest person I've come across has done a 40.9. So I was quite far off the ultimate pace here. If I'd hooked up all my sectors from my practice laps, I'd have got a 41.3, I think. So, okay, not too bad. I'm not too disappointed with that, considering I've only been on iRacing back for a couple of weeks here. But still, obviously, time to be found at some point here. But what I wanted to mention is the car behind me was quicker in this race. My fastest lap in this race was only a 41.8, and his fastest lap was a 41.6. So you can see where this is going. He's quicker than me. I'm going to have to start defending. So we've already come across a couple of lapped cars, and there's another one in front of us here, a grey and red car. As we go down to the first corner, it was kind of looking like he was going to lift off and let us through because he wasn't taking the conventional racing line down to Paddock Hill. But here we are down here, and no issues right now. But into Druid's hairpin, he misses the apex completely and tries to come back to the apex. And ooh, nearly wiped us both out there as he came back to the track. But thankfully he didn't. Thankfully we both survive here, and we're getting through this traffic relatively unscathed here, and there's only a couple of cars, as I mentioned, I think 4 or 5 at this point, which are sort of going around and didn't get sort of caught up in that early carnage, but most of them did get caught up in it, which has meant a very strange race here. Big thanks to the black car there that just got out of our way, because all too often in Formula 3 iRacing, that's not the case. So yeah, big respect to him, and it meant that we got through there without any hassle. But I think you're seeing a pattern here. This blue car is definitely closing up on us and is quick. The black car that got out of the way is actually quite quick as well. You can see he's staying on the back of us here a couple of laps later. So I'm really starting to feel the pressure at this point. I'm not putting in clean and consistent laps, and the blue car behind me is evidently quicker at this point, so I'm having to go defensive down to the first corner. That cost me time down the straight, it cost me time through the corner, and it cost me time on the run up to Druid. So defending all the way around this lap now at this point is my only aim. I was driving on my mirrors, which isn't always the smartest thing to do, but I wanted to win this race, understandably so. That's why I was being very defensive here. Not overly aggressive, I wasn't blocking and so on, but I was being defensive here. So down into turn 1 once again. You can see he's trying to go on the outside of me here, but that doesn't work as I'm taking the inside line, and I want to defend the inside line here, so I make my move early, signify I want to go to the inside, and I'm not doing a sort of crazy block halfway down the straight once I see the runners coming. I want to signify straight away that is my aim, and that's what I'm doing. So once I hook up a couple of corners, I'm not doing too badly, but still, I'm feeling the pressure, and I'm not putting together faultless laps, which is obviously not what you want when you've got someone right behind you. But this is, I think, the penultimate lap of this race here, so 2 to go, and he's right up behind me. He's not giving me an inch to breathe. So there's a car stopped at Druids. Thankfully he pulls off onto the infield there just slightly. It distracts the blue car as well, so we both were distracted and slowed up by that, but that really got to me. I was like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen here? Is this guy going to pull onto the track and destroy my race as we got so far leading it? When I saw that on the radar and I saw car stopped ahead, I was like, oh no, no, not now. But thankfully he got out the way, so fair play to him. Now, there's the white flag. Last lap of this race as we go into the first corner for the last time. That's when I decide to make a mistake, miss the apex, and the blue car comes down the inside of me here, but I go right to the inside straight away and defend into Druid's hairpin, slightly lock up here, but we're running around the corner in a way which means that he can't get past here. The pace definitely wasn't there, and especially in the second half of the race as well. You can see he's pushing even further the track limits, and as we go through here, he's right behind me, and I don't know whether there's some aero wash or something in this game, but he just goes straight off there, and see you later, I guess. But wow, that was a chaotic second race in Formula 3, and I'm going to come home with my first victory. 2 out of 2 podiums as well, legitimately. You can go and see my iRacing record if you want as well. That was my second race round Brands Hatch in a Formula 3 car, and we come home with a victory, so very happy with that. Thank you so much for watching this episode. As always, I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. We'll see you in a week's time for the next episode of iRacing, but until then, enjoy the content, and yeah, all the best. Thanks, Maddie. Goodbye.